A tale of two cities, both legendary, both powerful, both reshaping the course of world history. One fabled as the land of opportunity, the melting pot of cultures, the home of the brave. The other, the cradle of law, the birthplace of democracy, the crown jewel of classical antiquity. They are New York City and Athens, respectively. Welcome to Shape History. Subscribe for more. Today we're going to explore how Athens became the birthplace of democracy. One of the hallmarks of any civilization is specialization of labor. As civilizations grow and become more populous, members of a society begin to specialize in certain tasks or trades and work in different sectors of the economy. But that's not all they do. Specialization of labor can also lead to specialized regions. For instance, in Athens, there was a division of labor between those who lived in the city and those who lived in the countryside. And because of that, the people who lived in the countryside began to specialize as farmers. The polis, or city-state, was the fundamental political unit in ancient Greece. Each polis was an independent political entity comprising a city and its surrounding lands. Although each polis was sovereign, they were not isolated. They interacted extensively through trade, war, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Athens and Sparta, located only 200 miles apart, could not have been more dissimilar. Athens developed into a hub of commerce, culture, and democracy, whereas Sparta evolved into a rigidly militaristic society. Their contrasting paths highlight the diversity and complexity of ancient Greek civilization. During its Archaic period, which lasted from around 800 to 500 BC, Athens experienced significant growth and change. The earlier focus on agriculture gave way to maritime pursuits as Athenians leveraged their advantageous coastline to engage in trade across the Aegean Sea. This shift led to the accumulation of wealth and the emergence of a merchant class. Consequently, Athens grew from a small regional city into a prominent commercial center. This economic expansion transformed Athens into a cultural hub, attracting individuals from across Greece and beyond. The wealth generated through trade financed the construction of grand public buildings such as the Temple of Olympian Zeus and the famous Acropolis, which served as a citadel and a symbol of Athenian power and glory. The emergence of democracy in Athens during the classical period, spanning from around 500 to 323 BC, was a gradual process driven by various social, economic, and political factors. First, Athens's geographic location on the coast of Attica fostered a maritime culture and trade networks, which in turn stimulated economic growth. The resulting wealth helped support the burgeoning intellectual and artistic pursuits that flourished during this era. Second, the socio-economic structure of ancient Athens played a vital role. The concentration of land ownership in the hands of a few wealthy aristocrats led to the emergence of a class of landless citizens, including freed slaves called helots and others called perioikoi, whose interests diverged from those of the ruling elite. To maintain stability and manage potential unrest, the Athenians devised innovative political solutions to accommodate and integrate these diverse groups. One of the most significant developments was the introduction of the concept of citizenship. Athenian citizenship initially limited to adult male members of the dominant tribe. However, over time, this definition expanded to include freed slaves and foreign residents under the status of metoics. Still, non-citizens like women, slaves, and foreigners were excluded from political participation. The evolution of the assembly, or ecclesia, was crucial to the rise of Athenian democracy. Initially serving as a gathering of citizens for religious and communal purposes, it gradually transformed into a legislative and judicial body. The assembly's power grew significantly due to the reforms of Cleisthenes in the mid-6th century BCE, which reconfigured the tribes on a more geographically inclusive basis and introduced the concept of ostracism. This system allowed citizens to vote on the temporary banishment of an individual from the city-state deemed potentially dangerous to its security or political stability. The growth of the middle class further propelled democratic reforms as this rising class sought greater political representation and influence. The establishment of courts and juries, as well as the introduction of payment for public service, ensured that legal proceedings and civic responsibilities were accessible to a wider range of citizens. The spread of literacy also played a pivotal role. As literacy rates increased in Athens, more citizens could read and write, which facilitated communication, education, and the dissemination of ideas. This enhanced civic engagement and understanding of legal and political matters. In examining the key figures in the rise of Athenian democracy, we find that Cleisthenes stands out as a pivotal figure during the mid-6th century BCE. He implemented comprehensive reforms that restructured the traditional tribal organization, expanded citizenship rights, and introduced the concept of ostracism. Solon furthered democratic principles by introducing reforms that addressed economic inequalities, limited the power of aristocrats, and strengthened the authority of the assembly. Pericles, an influential statesman and general during the Golden Age of Athens in the 5th century BCE, epitomized Athenian democracy. His leadership saw the flourishing of art, culture, and intellectual pursuits, as well as the expansion of civic participation and the pursuit of empire. While the Athenian democratic system had significant achievements, it also had limitations. Despite its reputation as a pioneering example of democracy, ancient Athens excluded significant portions of its population from full citizenship and political participation. Women, slaves, and foreigners were denied the right to vote, hold public office, or participate directly in the assembly. Additionally, citizenship was tightly linked to residency within the city of Athens, excluding those who lived in the surrounding rural areas. The Athenian Empire, which arose from the Delian League, was a loose confederation of Greek city-states and islands led by Athens. Established after the Persian Wars in the mid-5th century BCE, the League aimed to counter potential future threats from the Persians. Over time, the alliance transformed into an Athenian hegemony, with Athens exploiting its naval supremacy to dominate member states and extract tribute. This resulted in resentment and eventually open revolt, contributing to the decline of the empire and the outbreak of the Peloponnesian War. The Athenian Empire exemplified the complexities of ancient political structures, combining elements of democracy and imperialism, showcasing the challenges of managing diverse and potentially conflicting interests within and outside the city-state. So what does this mean for our understanding of democracy? Ancient Athens is often lauded as the birthplace of democracy, a system that has profoundly influenced the course of Western civilization and continues to shape contemporary notions of self-governance. The Athenian experiment in democracy, though groundbreaking, was far from perfect. Its limitations serve as a reminder that even the most celebrated political systems of the ancient world were products of their time, reflecting the social norms and values of their respective eras. The story of Athens reveals that the path to democratic ideals is rarely linear, and that progress towards greater inclusion and representation often requires continuous effort and vigilance. Athens's legacy lies not just in its achievements, but also in the ongoing dialogue it has initiated regarding the meaning and practice of democracy across the ages. Now let's think like historians. How might the geographical features of Attica have contributed to the rise of democracy in Athens? How did the socio-economic conditions of ancient Athens influence the development of its political system? Many of the changes during the Axial Age were religious in nature. New religious ideas developed that emphasized ethical behavior and the importance of the individual. Confucianism and Taoism are two philosophies that originated in China during this time period. Hinduism, Buddhism, and Universalism all emerged in India. In Persia, Zoroastrianism was founded. Judaism, with its emphasis on ethical monotheism, continued to develop as well. And in Greece, philosophical inquiry focused on ethics and metaphysics. Meanwhile, in the Mediterranean, the Phoenicians developed a phonetic alphabet that spread throughout the region. Next time, we'll explore the Hellenistic period. But until then, remember, the epic story of humanity's past is always unfolding. Keep thinking historically and keep asking questions. I'll see you next time on Crash Course World History. Crash Course World History is filmed at the Team Sandoval Pier studio and was made with the help of all these nice people. If you want to help keep this content free for everyone forever, you can join our community on a crowdfunding platform.